Good idea.
We do need to do that, don't we? Good evening.
Yeah.
I hit something. Good evening, Central Indiana. Welcome to Porch Time. I think we're live. Maybe not. It wanted me to enter a transition number. Like I didn't know what's up there.
You're not in transition.
No, I know. I'm not in transition. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, are we live, CB?
As far as I know.
Oh, and I just said that.
I think we are. We're fine, aren't we?
No, you're good.
Okay. What's going on, Shelly? Shelly, this is a story. This is a night you're going to want to watch. I was just speaking of you. That's the one that lives. In studio, we have Craig Haggard from Mooresville. He is running for state representative, District 57. And I already told him you said no, and Shane knows you, which I'm sorry about that. But I told him, Shelly, that you denied a sign in his yard, so he wants to talk to you after the show. But anyway,
he gave me your address.
Right, I gave you address. Real quick before we get to Craig, he has a lot of fascinating stories. This guy is the real deal, and we're happy to have him in studio. Real quick, American Basement Solutions, thank you so much. 1-877-409-2837. Fathom Real Estate, Teresa Messmer, 765-341-8911. Drink the Creek, Cedar Creek, coming up May 7th. Pavel and Direct and Son de Esquina. I get that right? I think they're coming in studio.
Sounds good to me.
That's going to be an awesome night out there.
They'll be in here Monday, yeah.
They'll be in here Monday. Now, hopefully they'll bring margaritas. Blind Boys Lawn Care, 765-315-9656. Well, you go after tonight, Shelly, and then you'll know who to vote for. My favorite host is on, and it isn't Kevin.
Thanks, Shane.
Shane, you pipe down. Findhelp.org from Judge Williams. Get in there. If you need help of any kind, financial, domestic stuff, get in there and look at that site. That is a wonderful site. Wayman's Furniture Appliance and Mattress right here in town. We're happy to have Wayman's on board. 765-342-4339. Stop in there and tell Mark that you heard his business name here on the page. Wellsprings, Bob Goodrum, taking care of a lot of the homeless here in town. 765-346-6661. My phone's blowing up for some reason. I can only imagine. Stids Comfort Systems, 765-346-0195. Keeping us nice and cool in here tonight. Best purchase we've ever made, I'm telling you. And of course, one of our representatives is another individual running for state representative from right here in our district, District 60, Peggy Mayfield. They were just on here last Sunday. Mm-hmm. He's going to fact check that now, Shane. So tonight, Corey, you doing okay?
Mm-hmm. Doing fine. Yeah, I finally made it in here.
I know. You haven't been on here in about a week with me, so I've been having to tow the load. I can't do that. Mr. Haggard, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
We're happy to have you. I know that this is a little far south for you, but this is a very important election, and we want to discuss your boundaries and everything up in Mooresville, because even I didn't know, as you just said a little bit ago, most of Mooresville is yours, and the rest, I think, belongs to Dean. So,
yeah.
First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you to where you're at today, sir.
Okay. I grew up in Waverly, Indiana.
Oh, wow.
So for all you river rats out there,
that's the Frenchies area there, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm one of those. That's an endearing title. But grew up there, went to Mooresville, graduated Mooresville in 87. And
Kelly.
And from there, I went to Hanover College. And then from Hanover, was commissioned in the Marine Corps. So I'm seeing the running. Yeah. Can people see that online? Because I'm laughing because
you're fine. You're fine.
I'm having the running peanut gallery on the wall here. But anyway, went to Hanover and then was commissioned in the Marine Corps as a second lieutenant. Graduated from there in 91.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. And went on was successful to receive what they called an air contract with the Marine Corps, and that gets you at least a chance to try at flight school. And then doesn't mean you're going to graduate, but was fortunate enough to do that, and fulfilled my lifelong dream as a kid to fly fighters in the Marine Corps. So I flew Harriers.
Freaking awesome.
And that's the vertical takeoff jet. The one, actually, our squad, or one of my squadrons I served in, VMA 223, actually provided the Harriers for the Arnold Schwarzenegger True Eyes movie. So,
that wasn't a 30. No, that was Bruce Willis that flew the 35 in. Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
So he was the one.
This is where he went across the bridge, and yeah.
Correct. Now,
Okay.
having said that, yeah, some of that stuff was CGI, but actually, if you see the fighting bulldog on the side of the jet, that was our VMA 223, the Great American Bulldogs. And that logo, as a little side thing, was actually designed by Walt Disney. So that's kind of back in World War II.
Did you guys get any royalties for that?
No. As a matter of fact, I believe a lot of the enlisted Marines were given jackets from the movie, and then some disgruntled person that didn't get to go called fraud, waste, and abuse, and they all had to give their leather jackets.
Are you kidding me?
So, yeah, it always takes one.
That person probably voted for somebody else.
Probably. So it was. Oh, never mind. I was going to make another service joke, but I'll leave that out.
Oh, you're fine.
Anyway, from there, I left the Marine Corps, was honorably discharged, and came back to Indiana. Came back to my hometown because I really do love where I'm from and live in Mooresville now. But I joined the Air National Guard, Indiana Air National Guard, and was active duty for another 11 and a half years. And I flew F-16s out of Terre Haute, and I was commander of the air-to-ground range at Camp Atterbury.
Oh, wow.
And
did you play with A-10s over there?
Yeah, they came in
boys.
and really had a big show with their guns, and got to shoot up stuff, and was just fun. I mean, every day going to work, it was helicopters, F-16s, and if I wasn't flying them, I'm watching them drop bombs, shoot guns, and blow stuff up. And
that's the way to be right there.
That was kind of cool. Every once in a while it was really cool, an AC-130. It was the gunship that would come in and usually shoot in the center of the impact area, usually at night. So we'd sit there and sit on the hoods of the trucks and smoke a cigar and watch. I
love it.
It was kind of cool. We thought we were cool, but we were just a bunch of kids in green pajamas. That ran around.
That's good stuff, though, right there.
So during that time, I kind of did a lot of stuff that I think sort of drove me towards service. During that, for about 10 years, when I was with the Indiana Guard, I actually led humanitarian trips down to central Mexico. Awesome. And did a lot of stuff with concrete floors and doctors and just a whole bunch of really awesome stuff. And the more I did, the more you kind of realized I don't do enough. People think, oh, you feel better about yourself. And I think it's the opposite. You start to realize there's so much more I could do. And so from there, I retired in 2013 as lieutenant colonel. And at that point, I went on to be the Indiana field rep for the NRA. And that's the non-for-profit side, raised money for a number of years, and we raised millions in Indiana, number one in the country for about 7 years. And the great thing about that program was you actually kept half the funds to give away in the form of grants to your state. So we averaged $500,000 to $750,000 a year to give away to around 150 to 200 grants, depending on how many of those. And that was Boy Scouts, 4-H, school safety programs, kids without fathers for hunting programs, or hunters for the hungry program, all that kind of stuff. And that was very fulfilling, and left there after 7 years. I did some stuff for another environmental agency, or conservation agency, not environmental, but and now I have some home-based business that my wife and I run together. And it was kind of that perfect timing because we have 4 kids. Our oldest is a first lieutenant in the Marine Corps and is graduating Saturday.
Well, congrats.
From not from the Marine Corps, but from law school at Baylor University down in Waco, Texas.
So are we flying down there?
So, well, she is, and unfortunately, since the election's around the corner, I'm going to miss that.
Around.
But he and his fiance are actually going to have our first grandchild next month, so we'll be driving down for that. So
that's fantastic. Yeah.
And then oldest daughter graduating from Purdue May 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I know she's an engineer, but she'll be going out to Denver.
From IU, so
but we had both. So
there you go.
We have diversity in the family. And then my youngest daughter, who actually is adopted from Russia. She cool. Don't hold that against her,
No, not at all.
I make that joke about the Russians, and I get these people half smile. Can I laugh at that? It's my kid. It's okay. It's
where can we go there?
We're good with that joke. But anyway, she is at IUPUI, and then our youngest is graduating from Mooresville at the end of May. So we have 3 graduations, a baby, and an election, right? And
crazy household.
It is, and a very diverse. Our youngest, who's autistic. Actually he's the sweetest kid in the world. An amazing story, because when he was younger, he couldn't really speak at 3-4 years old, and now on weekends he's taking STEM classes from Purdue for astrophysics. And
Holy cow.
he has far surpassed my math knowledge.
Wow.
So, but just an impressive kid, sweet as could be, and all the kids are very successful and very different. And so we do have, it really is a different, crazy household, but we get along, and that's kind of one of the reasons. They're older. I've kind of led a life of service. I do have kids and grandkids on the way, and I really do care about what's going to happen when I'm not here. And I think a lot of people, like I do, don't like the direction our country's going.
100%.
And Indiana is a great state. So I'm not going to sit here and bash Indiana. And we have things that obviously could be done a lot better. We always do. I have things that I could do better. No matter how many times I try something, we can always look at something, evaluate it, and do it better. So I think that's what I want to do with Indiana, is to make sure that it keeps going the right direction, fix those things that need to be fixed, and also put up those protective walls to keep us from going down the road a lot of other states are going.
Sure.
And it is, like I said, it's a great place to live. That's why I came back here. Now, having said that, it'd be nice if this was Florida or San Diego weather, but if I could have San Diego without the politics and Indiana, we'd be good. So.
Right. We miss Bethany.
Yeah.
Bethany's wedding dress for one of her shopping for one of her daughters. So a
that's
perfect
kind of
storm though got you to run this time.
It did
with the redistricting.
So
easy for me to say.
Yeah,
redistricting.
So I guess every time the census comes out, every 10 years, they obviously look at the population, and Indiana has had, because of our surrounding states not being as conservative as we are, has had an influx of population, and so everything was redistricted a little bit. And
that's a total.
Sorry, I'm laughing on me.
I'll gladly endorse him, but that first sentence is a total lie.
Thanks, Shane.
Shane, I know you're going to jump ticket this year and run it on the Democratic side too. So anyway.
But what were we talking about?
I know.
I'm kidding. The redistricting. Yeah, I know. But and so I was contacted by some folks and said, "Hey, there's a new open seat," and actually they had not approved the final districts yet. And so we went and spoke with these guys, and they said, it's going to be open seat. You're not going to run it against an incumbent. And, would you run? And so Brooke and I, my wife, talked about it, and the kids and family. I called up some friends that were in the state house and some other mentors, and decided to run, and decided, hey, why not go for it? Because it is that perfect storm. I think I had at least life experience to do what I think is a good job. And I know.
Well, your track record has been nothing but service to the country pretty much since you became an adult. So it's naturally you're going to carry this on the direction you're heading now. Yeah. And then that's amazing.
And I'm excited. I mean, it's something totally different. And since I've started this process, from talking to people that have done it for a while, talking to business owners, people in the streets, people at breakfasts and Chamber of Commerce lunches and dinners, and just all sorts of things, I've not only found out issues that I didn't realize were issues. I've just learned a lot, and it's exciting to me to, even later in life, go into a new field where you just learn so much more about your state, the people, the town. What are the issues? How can I? It's been a great process. I'd say it's been 98% great. There's 2% of the crazy and the negative and some other that
You're
stuff.
Gonna get that, of course. You've met every challenge head on in your life, and this one appears no different. You've taken this on and running right with it. And this politically right now, it's not easy for anybody to run with the mess that's created in D.C. And of course, I look at the right is on the rebound, and we're coming strong. And man, what a chance to get another position in the House or see the state, and you're stepping in there, hopefully. Because you do have an opponent.
I do have an opponent.
Mention that name, but you do have. Is it just you're running against one individual?
Correct. It started out when I started running back in the fall. I think October timeframe is when we started talking about it. I had one opponent at that point, and he ended up filing, but then a week later withdrew from the race. And then I think the last day we had 2 more opponents, and then one of the gentlemen dropped out of that, and so I have one opponent left. So,
and let's clarify, he is not running against Peggy.
No, I'm
Peggy's
not.
District 60, and you're District 57, and let's discuss lines.
Okay.
This is the importance of this right here.
So, and it's kind of become a running joke that I say at events, I'm not running against Peggy Mayfield.
Right.
Because people see, because we do have some overlapping of our signs where, you're going to go into this county or that county. And I know, I think it's said the other way now. I think even her husband has said at an event, Peggy's not running against Craig Haggard. So, right. The new district 57 is, and go from left or west to east, Guilford Township, which is basically Plainfield, old Plainfield, over to, everybody knows, I think, where the famous boys' school is, where, our famous boxer spent a little bit of time there.
Mike was out there.
Mr. Tyson spent a couple nights there. But from there over to Ronald Reagan Parkway, so all of Plainfield, and then all of Mooresville, and I got to read this. Do you
I think we should wall off Mooresville, my own opinion.
Yeah, that's right. Build the wall between But Mooresville, so most all of Brown Township, and northern Madison, which is Canby area.
So you run all the way over then.
And then all the way to Johnson County.
Really?
Which is northern White River Township. So that is from 37 over to Honey Creek, which is just past 135, and from Olive Branch north to County Line Road. So
wow,
everywhere in 135 where you see the Menards, Meyer, all that, Golden Corral, whatever.
So you pick up Greenwood?
Yeah, western Greenwood, northern Center Grove area, Mooresville, Canby, and Plainfield, to generalize.
Wow.
And that is a new open seat that I'm not running against an incumbent. Right. It is me. So if you go into Mooresville and you're looking for, and you don't see Peggy's name, I'll be there. So right. No, Peggy and you have actually worked together and are friends through this whole thing. And oh yeah, they've been great. It's Peggy's one of the first people I talked to when I decided to run, to just say, hey, I'm thinking about this. Am I nuts? What do you think? What's some advice you would give? And actually, when I was at the NRA, worked with a lot of the state folks, especially on a lot of gun stuff. And Peggy's always been a huge Second Amendment supporter. And so of course, I'm sure I've had through the years insurance from being in town. So no, they've been a staple, and I've been there for a long time too. So definitely have been thankful for the help that they've given and advice and other things.
Let me ask you this: up in Plainfield, in that area there, what district did you cut into, or did they?
So there was
that had been covered by something else,
right? So a gentleman named Bog Baining was a part of that area, and so he went that direction. A guy in Johnson County was John Jacob, who he's gone up. I think his area is north now, and so it was. To my understanding, if I get this right, there were 3 state reps that they kind of pushed in 3 different directions and created the new district in the middle.
And the reception up there been fine?
It's been great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, what's kind of cool is being from the area. I have family in Johnson County, Hendricks. I've connected with high school friends, teachers that have moved to these different places. I was in a neighborhood in Greenwood and ran into kids, a lady I went to school with, and hadn't seen them since they were little babies. So
really?
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Do you run into Marion at all, or is it stop right there at
no, thank goodness I have nothing to do with Marion County. Can I openly say that?
In here you can, trust me. We're one of the donut counties they're not fond of, so
yeah,
it is what it is.
Well, we're still paying our penny to the Hoosier Dome, right?
When they chipped and sealed 67, that was them saying, "Hey, thanks. We're gonna chip and seal 67 now." See, reception been good. A lot of help from Jim Lucas too. Is that a buddy of yours?
Yeah, Jim is.
He's
a friend
another
of mine.
big Marine, but he's Southern Indiana.
He's down in Seymour, Indiana.
Yeah,
and
I've tried to get him on, but he's a busy guy.
Now, actually, Jim and I became friends when I was with the NRA, and he's obviously not obviously, he's a big Second Amendment supporter.
Yes, sir.
And he actually has a couple businesses that I've utilized, Tag Graphics, to do my shirts and my and some other stuff for the NRA for years, and he's helped me out with this. And he's been giving me a lot of advice and stuff too.
He's a good conservative. He's a good man.
So yeah.
Also, Guy Relaford. I noticed you were buddies with Guy.
Guy's a good friend, and he is an expert on all things Second Amendment. And even with the NRA, when I was with the NRA, he was a great asset going from the military world to the civilian world, and not only national laws but Indiana laws, and just a huge advocate. And a great. I went up and watched him. If you haven't seen it, anytime you can see him testify to committees.
Oh yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's great. I mean, there's a plug for Guy. He's just.
We're gonna try to get him on. I know it's a busy time of year for him right now with what's going on, but the guy's busy 365. And I would love to get him in here and talk Second Amendment.
Offer up some cigars.
Yeah, there you go.
Cigars and bourbon.
Yeah, we'll get Gillespie's here in town to come over and give us. It's a new cigar bar here.
Went there the other night.
Did you go?
I did.
You talked to the guy who runs it?
No, we didn't.
He's a pilot.
Think. Oh, is he?
He's a Army pilot.
Army.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gillespie.
20+ years.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude. And
really?
Once I found out he was a pilot. Blackhawk pilot.
Okay.
I was like, well, he's not driving the force that you are. Don't get me wrong.
Hey, no, Blackhawks are fun too. Hey, all flying is fun.
Did you get to fly Blackhawk?
I didn't get to fly one. I've actually was fortunate enough to fly what they call the Little Birds when the Army came.
Those are fantastic.
And so they allowed me to fly left seat when they come down to Atterbury, and got to shoot the 50 cal, which it rang my cranium because you're sitting just forward of the barrel. But
first time I ever saw one of those, we're at NTC, that fun little place out there in the Mohawk. Boom, they pop up out of a wadi, paint the target. Here comes big boy A10. Take the tank out, and away he goes. Little bird go back down, and you're like, dude, where did we get those, and why haven't we had them forever?
So there's a group, and this is just a side note, has nothing to do, but kind of a cool story of Little Birds.
Keep going.
So we had a lot of Special Forces guys that would come and train at Atterbury.
Sure.
And there's this group of Army Special Forces folks that it's really cool. So they go around with a semi that has a couple Little Birds tucked in the back of the semi that nobody knows they're there, and they're fully loaded birds.
That's fantastic.
And they practice like driving around. Now, obviously, they pulled down south into a secluded area and then came to the range. So some peacetime. So, but anyway, they pull in and they have those birds out and airborne within minutes. And they go and hit their targets, boom, boom, boom. And then they leave land, get back in the semi, and they drive away. And so it's the coolest thing in the world. But
there's stuff we do that I don't think anybody on the planet could match. When they do stuff like that, it's just amazing.
It's just so there's a lot of other cool stuff. We'll just say they did down there. Just we really do have the best military in the world. So.
I think, thank you, Shane. We're happy to have him. Those pictures of the SF guys coming in, hanging off those little birds, either coming or going to wherever they're bound. That's you can just see the adrenaline flowing through their veins. But they're so focused and sharp in the training and everything that they've done. And this, you've done that. It's amazing to me. They're just very cool.
And we all give each other grief, all the services all the time. But at the end of the day, it's family giving family grief, and every service is awesome, has their place.
Somebody not involved doesn't want to step in the middle of that, because that's when
that's right.
That's when things go wrong.
We make fun of each other, but don't make fun of my brother.
No, that's when things go wrong. So let's go over a little bit of can you go over a little bit of your policies or what you're looking to do, please? I think that would.
So, I mean, a lot of the standard policies, and I don't want to say it like it's not important, but I'm a very conservative guy. We're a conservative area. So, I mean, I think my Second Amendment is obvious. I've fought for that for years. I continue to help with that, still actually work with the NRA now on a volunteer basis, not paid for, but I never stopped doing that. I'm a big pro-life guy. I mean, I'm unapologetic. I am, period. I have small business. I've been in a family of small business. My dad has started many small companies, and I'm for that. I think there's still a lot of red tape we could get rid of, a lot of red tape and some, say it in a nice way, but there's certain industries that have barriers to entry that really don't protect anybody, which is what we're here to do, really, is what, commerce and protect folks. And I think sometimes revenue's thrown in there and it stops people, young people especially, from getting into business to be on their own. So I think there's a lot of stuff we could do for small business folks. But one of my big things, and I've been talking about this for a long time, is the mental health issue we have in Indiana. And that started actually when I was commander of the range, because we actually were given back when, and they started shutting down a lot of the mental health facilities in Indiana.
Yeah.
And back in, I think it was the early 2000s, I can't remember the exact date, but one of the things that was given to the military department of Indiana was Muscatatuck. And for those that don't know what that is, that was a mental facility down in southern Indiana. And today, that facility is a premier training site for special operations guys, first responders. Purdue has stuff down there. It's this crazy facility where they have.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, they have like an embassy, which was the hospital. They have a whole town of just rooftops built where they can flood it for people to practice taking people off roofs with helicopters or boats. They have a subway. They have a tunnel system that spans thousands of yards, that because they have their own power plant, sewer plant, a whole bunch of stuff. They had bazaars, Afghan village at one time. They have animals, camels that they bring in. They have a parking structure that actually has collapsible. It's like Universal Studios, collapsible floors, so they can simulate either for tactical stuff or for first responders. Anyway, it's an outstanding facility. And I want to say that, but when we first went there, and literally after we were given the keys, we went on a tour, and it was like some crazy Twilight Zone movie, like The Rapture had happened, because everything was just laying there. I mean, scalpels, patient records, just
really,
it was like people just disappeared. And they cleaned that up properly. They had people file, and I don't want people to think that they didn't take care of that stuff. They did. They did a great job. But I started asking the questions: where did all the people go?
Yeah.
And over the years, they say, oh, their families, the towns, we have a great non-plan that obviously didn't work, because we see today a lot of people in jails, especially county jails and downtown, homeless folks and things like that, and also a lot of law enforcement officers that I've spoken with over the years that have come down to Atterbury, because a lot of local and state folks come down to shoot and train and stuff. That's a huge issue. I spoke with Sheriff Myers and Clark out of Hendricks County, and Sheriff Burgess out of Johnson County, and that's a huge issue that they deal with all the time, every day. Their jails have folks in them that they're not trained to take care of. They're not getting the proper treatment, and at the end of the day, these folks belong in a facility that they can get help.
Right.
And there's one of the stories out of Hendricks County. There's an older lady that sleeps in her bedroom at night with a lock inside on her door, actually a padlock, because her bipolar son, if he doesn't take his meds, she's worried that he may attack her in the middle of the night. And that's just one of tons of stories. You have the situation where you have a special needs person who got shot by a police officer, but he was coming after him with a weapon. And on one hand, you're like, well, the police officer needs to defend himself. But on the other hand, that's a horrible story. And neither one of those folks should have been put in that situation. No. And so I know that actually there are people actively looking at putting some stuff together. I found out recently some legislators starting in May are going to work with people to hopefully put together a plan for the state in local areas and I don't know, I don't even want to guess what the plan is going to be, but have that good intention of trying to figure out whether it's to get those folks to a facility and it's not just the people with mental issues, those folks, and also with heavy dependence on some drugs too that need help, and not necessarily, and jail's not necessarily the best place for those folks.
We've covered about between 20 and 30 shows on the drug issue in the county. My brother works for the county as a warrant officer, and he deals with it daily. And he agrees that mental health of a lot of these issues, hurts a lot of these issues, because the drugs lead to one, and they lead back to the drugs, and it's a never-ending battle. And I would say, we probably done 20 or 30 shows in the 4 years we've been active of doing drug-related or mental health. And there's a lot of support in this county for it. But, everything needs funding. Everything, none of it's cheap. And getting it set up and running. And there's some things they've got here in the city they're working on. Newer locations they're coming around to, but addiction, and then you got a rehabilitation, and then there should always be another step in between there. And some of these addicts that are just not hooked on drugs. There's something wrong chemistry wise, mentally wise, before they got to the drugs, which led them to the drugs, and now it's compounded. And like you said, there's no more facilities, and when they just opened the doors and said, hey, well, you're done here, that created issues all across the country, or all across the state anyway.
And I think most people, I've talked to some folks that were actually in the legislative, that's another hard word to say, right?
Right.
And that's when you just say state house instead.
Bingo.
But that will admit that ended up not being a great plan.
Sure.
And so, but at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter at this point. I think it's time to look forward and see what we can do. And I think that whatever solution you come up with, and hopefully a successful one, I think, and all the money that costs, I think it's going to save so much money.
Oh yeah.
With our jails and law enforcement, and not having to deal with stuff they shouldn't be dealing with, or trained. And I know we have outstanding law enforcement, but at the end of the day, that's not their job. And I think it takes them away from important stuff they could be
100%.
doing. So, and then it would help downtown.
Something proactive in the right direction is needed.
Right.
It's been needed for a long time, and you're one of the first people that I've ever heard say. Not saying that Peggy hasn't or anybody else, but for someone new on the chart, that's a good step, because that affects, and nobody will admit it, but it affects every one of us. The drug issue or the mental health issues, family wise or friend wise, I guarantee you, every one of us has a connection somewhere with somebody, and it's brutal. So, kudos to you, and I hope you get into that feet first.
Well, I hope so, and I'm not going to pretend that I know the answers right now.
Sure.
But one thing I think I have, and probably through the years have developed this skill a little bit better in my leadership and in different places I've been in command, is I don't have to be the expert, but I definitely know where I can go to talk to those folks that know what they're doing, and listen to those folks. And at the end of the day, will the first plan be perfect like any plan? Probably not, but I think it's a thing in the right direction. And I think another thing that I bring is, if it's not perfect, I can say, okay, these parts were good, these parts were bad.
Let's fix it.
Let's fix it, and let's try this.
Yeah. Because
I think too often people keep going down that, was it the famous term, the bridge to nowhere? Remember that?
Yeah.
I can see Russia from here, whatever. But I was told the other day that you can't actually see Russia from there, from a friend of mine that lived in Alaska. So
across the Bering Strait there.
Right.
There's a little town actually out in the frozen tundra. So I like it, especially, and this is from an enlisted guy saying this, but I like seeing our officers that have retired step up. Anybody in the military really step up and go after a political seat, especially on our side of the wall, because I think that, hey, just like you said, you've been solving problems for decades. That's what you guys are trained to do. Here's a situation, fix it, and by the way, keep moving forward, because that's what we do. And I think it's awesome that you're doing what you're doing, and especially the people of Mooresville and Plainfield and the areas around there, that they have to be excited. They lost Peggy, some of them, but now we got that you're filling in there and going to step up, and I think it's good for the state and it's good for our area, and it's just a good deal, man. I'm just glad you're there. It's
I appreciate
we need individuals like you across the globe, across the country anyway, across the globe too, but we can't say that, but.
We could say it. We could do anything about it.
I got to ask you, how long has it been since you've been in a fighter?
So it's been my last flight, which actually I posted a picture online, which actually was my last flight in an F-16, and that was with the Guard. That was in 2007, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I retired in 2013, but it was one of those things where Terre Haute was losing its fighters, and and Fort Wayne and Terre Haute were the two bases in Indiana that had F-16s. And Fort Wayne transitioned to A-10s, and Terre Haute is now the 181st Intelligence Wing. And so they actually do intelligence work and intelligence gathering. There are multiple assets that they gather info from down in Terre Haute. So they do a lot of really cool stuff down there, but we lost our airplanes. So when the F-16s were going away, I decided to hang up flying.
Got to fly. Got that last spin though, didn't you?
I did. It was fun.
I was stationed in Germany for a while, and for a couple of years, and I was in communications, so we bounced around over mountaintops and things like that. But you'd be surprised about all these little. You'd be out in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, U.S. military air base on top of this. You know, it's a wing. And always, every night when I'd go to bed, you'd hear Trabach Air Base out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm picturing just some little strip with a few jets on it, but those were scattered across the country. In Germany, I know we've lost a lot of those. And I know the better we get at what we're doing and the more sophisticated we get at what we're doing, we don't need as many. But I hate seeing us close air bases and small little places like that, because I know it's hard for a civilian to say, well, you probably didn't need it. Well, everything in the military works with each other. It's a big wheel. And when you start taking cogs out of that wheel, you got to replace them somewhere.
Well, I disagree with the current administration in getting rid of Navy ships and bases and things like that, because people think technology replaces everything. And there's that. From a fighter pilot perspective back in, and they, I know they talk about it in the old Top Gun movie. By the way, excited. May 25th, new Top Gun movie. So there's
got his goose jacket on there.
That's right. I'm going to put my white scarf on, and my wife will take me to the movies and buy me some popcorn. But so anyway, plug for Top Gun 2. Anyway, back then, but they talked about in Vietnam without technology and missiles. And they said we can get rid of the guns, and once again that came back to bite them, and then we started putting guns back on. On aircraft. And I think sometimes people think technology will replace everything. It's like the F-22, F-35, outstanding aircraft. I mean, it's amazing what these things can do. But let's take China. I guess we're going to get into international politics. Sure. But China may not have superior equipment. They may not have better trained pilots, but what they do have are thousands of them. Oh, yeah. And technology is great. You have an aircraft that can target multiple targets, but it can only carry so many missiles. And after, hey, look, we just killed 30 aircraft with one airplane. Well, that's awesome, but now there's 2,000 more coming. So I am a proponent still for some lower cost, maybe basic fighter aircraft in larger numbers. And I know that was, if you remember back to Desert Storm timeframe, they wanted to kill the A-10. Oh, yeah. To get rid of it. And I believe it was Dan Quayle who helped save that program. Greatest plane ever built. And think about that. It's a low cost aircraft that can take a hit. I mean, when I was in Serbia and Kosovo during Operation Allied Force, we had an A-10 hit with an SA-18, which is an advanced surface to air IR missile. So, which is a heat-seeking missile. It wasn't a radar missile. Direct hit into one of the engines and still flew back. And that's insane. Yeah, and so it can be shot at. It's just I've seen pictures of them come back with holes all over them. It's a tank. Pilots untouched. Flies. Weapons still fires. It may be slow. Oh, that's slow. A little jab to my A-10, but it may be slow. When you see an 18 go by and all of a sudden here comes the 18. Yeah. Figure 8 pattern of 10 minutes, but I mean, they're a tank. But it is an awesome aircraft. And think about the money, the cost of F-22, and I don't even remember what it's up to now. Oh, it's insane. $250 million or something per aircraft. Once again, outstanding, awesome, cool airplane. But for that one aircraft, you could probably have, and I'm really just pulling numbers out of the air here, but you could probably have a couple squadrons of A-10s. Right. And which is the optimum forward support for troops. I still let's just use world things going on right now. Everybody saw the big long 40-mile convoy, right? So what would be more effective, one F-22 or 2 squadrons of A-10s? Depends what you're dropping too. Well, I'm just saying, you can click a Tomahawk to hot real quick, but you can also an A-10 can run one run and take out the whole column. Oh, not only that, but carry multiple. True. It can carry just about everything. So Mavericks and rockets and 500, 2,000 pounders. Did you ever get to fly one of them? A-10? No, single seat. Freaking awesome. But it's a very effective aircraft that it's in. Anyway, it's just that's something I believe in. I think that we are. Once again, I think we're going to see an issue with downgrading our. And by the way, because people ask me these questions, as a state representative, I will have nothing to do with the size of our Navy. Right. I've had people ask me, so when you get into the Indiana State House, what are we going to do about Ukraine? I'm not going to do anything about it except for come on shows like this and talk about what I would do if I were king. Right. Well, I mean, your military background, and you're an officer,
you know the ins and outs of all of it,
Right.
and that's important when things will come up. And who knows? I mean, states don't decide that, but it's nice to have a guy in there. Like you can say, hey, wait a minute, this is what's going on,
Right.
and here's what we're doing.
Well, one thing I can tell you about the state, in all seriousness, and sorry I went off
You're
on the
fine. No,
the world
I love
events,
it.
but Indiana, and just to plug, and these numbers are from when I left, so I won't pretend to know the current numbers, but I think people don't realize how big the state of Indiana, as far as our guard is. At the time, if the numbers are still correct, we were the 4th largest guard in the nation.
Really?
And at any one time, I know back when I retired, we were deployed, and it may be small numbers up to bigger numbers, but to 150, 180 countries around the world. We're always one of the first states to respond to emergency disasters in Texas or Florida, or the first to make the phone call, where do you need us? And so
Right.
It's the Indiana Guard, and its capabilities are just outstanding. It's impressive. And to be honest with you, before I went from active duty Marines to an active duty Guard guy, I really didn't know the capabilities of our state, and was very, very impressed. And we have a lot of outstanding people that either started in the Guard or came from other services to come back to Indianans. It really is impressive. So just wanted to throw that plug in, because
I had no clue that our guard was that expansive across the world and as large here in the state. That's awesome.
it is, yeah.
So and we'll make this quick, but you flew a Harrier.
Correct.
Now you were the original, and now they got the F-35 and can do it all. How cool is that to be able to drop in on one of those?
So, I mean,
this isn't state topic, but the guy flew a Harrier. As a kid, there was nothing better in the movies when you jets zipping by and all of a sudden this dude pops up out of the ground and is gone. So
I tell you, and at least it's neat to me. I don't know if anybody else will think it's cool, but one of the first military aircraft I ever saw was at a small air show in Orlando, Florida, when I was a kid at SeaWorld, and right by for those who've been down there, where Shamu is.
Right.
I don't know if is he still down there?
I don't think
did they free him, Free Willy, or whatever they did.
Wall or what? But yeah.
But anyway, there's a field right by the Shamu place, and they said, hey, we got a special treat. There's an air show nearby, and actually a British Harrier came in and did a show, and that was the first aircraft that I actually saw, and I ended up flying them years later.
Right.
So to me, that was kind of a cool, I don't know.
Full circle there.
It was kind of full circle, but it was, I tell you, I started flying, T-34 first, a training aircraft. Then I went to Kingsville and started off flying what they call the T-2 Buckeye, which is an actual training jet. And then I flew A-4s. And then after a knee accident, I'd like to say I was stopping a terrorist, but I think it was on the racquetball court. But but either way, that was
10 years from now, it won't be a racquetball
right.
court.
It was that's right. I was saving an orphan in a bus.
Right.
But, I actually started advanced jet training over again because I was in the last A4 squadron, VT-22. And so I started over again in T-45s. And so these were all conventional aircraft. And before I was done, we had to land, before I got my aviator wings, we had to do 10 traps, 10 landing on carriers. So that's with the hook and the cable. So I did that first on the USS Kitty Hawk and then the USS America, the 2 aircraft carriers that I did the carrier landings.
Yeah, that looks terrifying to me.
It's
Because it's about that big when you see it on the videos. There's where you're landing when you're miles out. There's no way.
It is crazy, but there's 4 wires, and every landing is graded, and the 3rd wire, and they have a grading system, but an OK3 wire is like an A+. That's what you want to hit every time with your hook. And if you actually miss, you actually go full power or afterburner if you have it when you land, and if you miss, you take off again.
Get back in the area.
And then, but if not, that's crazy how a heavy aircraft at full power, that cable stops that. And the system that does that, and I'm sorry, I'm a history kind of guy, but is an old steam system with big pistons, and
Really?
That's what launches people off the ship, and that's what helps you land. It's that's what all that steam is from the movies. It's not just cool smoke machines and people are doing disco. It's actually a big steam thing, which was created and developed by the British back in World War II, and it's the same technology today that they use to launch and recover aircraft.
It's pretty effective, though.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And but from going from all that to an aircraft that flies like a jet, but then when we called them nozzles. There were 4 kind of the thruster things you see on the side. I don't know if that's a good term, but we called them nozzles. Yeah. But you had hot nozzles and cold nozzles basically coming off the compressor or off the aft part of the engine. But when we'd rotate those down to fly vertically, all your controls now were different than conventional aircraft, and they converted into kind of a helicopter type controls where now your throttle was not fast and slow, it was up and down, and your pedals now were actually used for yaw. You'd turn left and right, and if you went forward on the stick, you wouldn't go down, you'd go forward. So it went from, so now your brain has to switch from what we call wing-borne flight to jet-borne flight, which is hovering. And at first it was a little frustrating, but after you got used to it, you could do some crazy stuff.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
And it was so fun. I mean, it really was a fun aircraft and very, very capable air-to-ground platform. Even though we could carry missiles, we could carry radar, AIM-120s, and then AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles as your standard air-to-air missiles on the Harrier. But mostly we were an air-to-ground platform. We were in support of the ground marine or the Army guy on the ground, and that was our primary purpose, was to support those guys from the air.
That's fantastic. I got to ask you one more question about military. One more. Favorite air movies, military air movie?
So
is it Top Gun?
Well, you know, it's funny because I love Top Gun, especially because it was Top Gun played in high school, and actually I'm excited for the new one because the first one it was cheesy. I mean, the cheesy lines and it was on, a lot of it was green screen, and so you could tell the jets were fake going back and forth.
No, none of us non-Air Force guys could. But you guys could.
Well, and just like Iron Eagle, so cheesy,
okay,
Chappie, I could say those lines from the 80s, but what's funny is that Top Gun, you'll see at the end the word visors on the movie, and F-14 guys are funny.
Yeah.
So, and I can give them grief because any F-14 guys out there listening, because we all had call signs, and you saw in the movie, Maverick and Goose and Killer and Viper and all this stuff. Well, the real story is call signs aren't usually cool.
Yeah.
You usually get a call sign from doing something stupid. I mean, that is a true statement. We had, I knew good friends of mine, Troll, Goat Boy, Ramstrike, Big Dummy.
Right.
Now, Big Dummy, the skipper didn't want us to call him that. He didn't want one of his pilots being called Dummy, so we had to call him BD, but for sure. But I was Merle Haggard, which is my call sign, and this is what I went by for 20-some years. And
your call sign was Merle?
Merle.
That's fantastic.
And it was odd for me when I retired to be called Craig, with my actual name, because I was not, my real name wasn't used for so long.
Right.
And so, but yeah, I went by Merle. But the F-14 guys that were advisors to that movie knew half the stuff they told these producers was just stupid.
Hogwash, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, like when they say I'm in a flat spin heading out to sea. Well, a flat spin is actually where you're coming straight down to the ground.
Right.
But they needed to transition to the ocean, so they made up silly stuff like that. Or I'll put on the brakes and he'll fly right by. Well, that's just stupid, and. But we loved it though, because and then when they came out with that parody, what was the parody movie?
Hot Shots Part 2.
Hot Shots Part 2 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That movie was hilarious because it was the same. We loved the movie because it was premise, so cool. Yeah. It's really cool to see the flying. I mean, the movie was cheesy, but that's why I'm excited about the new Top Gun. Is because for those that don't know why I'm excited, because I'm a little kid again, is they actually took two-seat F-18s. And they used IMAX cameras actually mounted in the aircraft, so this time instead of green screens, the actors are actually in an F-18 in the back seat. Now they'll show from a distance, they'll show a single seat fighter, but they're actually doing all their lines in actual F-18s flying.
While somebody's real pilots.
Well, yeah, real aviators are flying the aircraft,
awesome.
But it's pretty cool. So there's some of and I don't know if the story will be cheesy or anything else, but I can tell you from the visuals. I want to see it in an IMAX theater because I just think it's cool, because it's hard to explain to folks how cool some of this stuff is that you see or when they do. I explained to my wife, one of the neatest things I ever did was training out in the desert, and we would do ridge crossings, or we would, and there's 3 ways you do them. And we did it for old technology. You were hiding from radar. You'd want to pop up behind something,
sure,
kill it, and then go back down and hide from radar. Well, mostly we go in high anymore because we have that. Most of the time we rule the skies in most conflicts, but there's a scene in the movie. So if you're seeing this, there's one way you cross it where you come up and you bun over -G. Not that that means anything, but basically you're flying up and you push over one way, or you put your wing sideways and you slice down. But the coolest and most fun way is, they show it in the movie. You'll see a jet come up over the mountain. Before he reaches the apex of the mountain, you'll see him go inverted. and then pull probably 5 or 6 G's straight down to the other side of the mountain. And he's probably 300 to 500 feet off the deck. And then he reverses back. And I've always told that story. When I saw that that's actual shot of an aircraft, a fighter doing that in the movie, I just thought that's cool.
Yeah.
Because you can never really explain to people how.
No. That makes me dizzy just thinking of it.
So but I'm excited. Yes, I'm a little kid excited to go see this movie because at the end of the day, it was my live stream. I was able to do it. It went too fast. And so.
How high have you been altitude wise?
Altitude wise, a little over 50,000 feet. And that was
up there.
That was in some restricted area where we could do some fighting and because fighting in real life in aircraft is not like the movies. For movie purposes, they model a lot of it after World War II type fighting.
We don't fight that way.
Where you're behind.
So far away
yeah,
now,
if I'm behind you like they showed, I can kill you with a missile.
Yeah.
But it looks good for camera. Right. I mean, real fighting, when we're coming at an aircraft, if we get to that close, which is very rare because a lot of times you'll shoot from distance, but if you get that close and you pass each other, you have to instantly try to look at his aircraft, see what type of aircraft it is, see what speed, and there's certain things you can look at an aircraft to see a speed, and then decide whether what we call to take a 1 or 2 circle fight. And at that point, you either turn away from him or turn into him, and then you're doing math in your head, and you're usually going vertical, and you're trying to do what you call the best cornering speed, where you have the most angles that your aircraft goes through without bleeding energy to maintain a constant rate of speed. Anyway, my math teachers would be amazed that I actually knew how to do
John Wayne
this.
didn't have to do that.
So it's a big math thing in your head, but you start to anyway. It's really cool. It's fun, and sorry, I could talk about
I love it.
I'm sure I'm boring my wife.
No, it's fantastic. It's. I mean, people see the grounded side of you, and obviously, you love what you do, and I'm sure you're going to carry that over.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about this is something new, and I can openly admit I may have been an expert in that field. And I think I have the tools to listen to people who know what they're doing and to evaluate different options and to hopefully listen to people and then listen to experts when I'm asking them about their problems and then apply those things and say, here's a goal, here's the tools to get there. And then try to pick the best course based on sound advice, not just my opinion, which probably in certain areas I'm not the expert. And then it also admit when it's not going the right way and then let's try something else. But you can't really be successful unless you try something, and then you can't continue to be successful if you sit there and won't admit when things do go wrong.
Yeah, it's just awesome that you're doing this. Polling or election day, your places are going to be different. Are you in the same? Can you vote for you at all the Mooresville polling places, or are they split up different because of the 2 districts?
So I have actually the one cool thing that actually all 3 counties have done in the past few years. If you're in Morgan County, you can actually vote for me in Martinsville, Mooresville. You can vote at any location within Morgan County.
Okay.
And they scan your license and it's in all the system. And in Indiana, we actually have a pretty solid and safe voting system.
Not run by Dominion, is it?
No, but they did add. I saw it the other day when I voted early. They actually have now. They passed this law and there's a new paper backup.
I read that.
And you actually vote, and they have this printer on the side, and actually it prints up, and you look at the actual. It's sealed, so you can't mess with it. But you can say, and I did. I went line by line to make sure it printed out. Right.
I voted the other day.
And then I hit OK, and then it's stored. So at that point, if hey, some hacker got in or whatever, even though I think it's closed system, but if they ever needed to, then they have the actual printout that you verified yourself, and so I think we do a pretty good job in Indiana.
So anywhere in the county polling places, if the individual lives in your district, they're going to be able to vote.
Right. I mean, Johnson County have to go to Johnson County polling stations, but they can do it all over. They can vote in Franklin, Trafalgar, Greenwood, White River Township area, and in Plainfield. You could actually, if you're in Plainfield, you could still vote in Brownsburg, Danville, as long as it's within that county. Most folks do go to their own polling places.
Right.
And to be honest with you, until I ran, I didn't realize they had this new system in place. So
I didn't know that either.
And I think the majority of people probably still go to their original polling places that they're used to. But yeah, you can. And early voting's open now, and in all 3 counties, it's different times for everyone. So
any thoughts on how it's looking so far?
It's crazy low turnout so far.
That's what Peggy and Dean were saying, that But it's primary, and then normally there's not a lot decided in the primary. But this year it is.
Well, and that's why we're asking, and this is my plug, get out there and vote, please, because, you know, you have some races in certain counties they're going to pull people out. In Hendricks County, they have a kind of a big sheriff's race going on, so that I think will pull people out. In Johnson County, you have a big prosecutor race that's making a lot of news. But in Mooresville, it's good or bad, I guess, that we don't have a lot of controversy in the county, but we definitely need folks to get out there and vote. I need you to get out there and vote, because at the end of the day, being for me and supporting me is great, but I need that vote. And so I'm
100%.
Yeah.
Where are you anywhere between now and then? It's not far away. What are we? Next Saturday or
Tuesday?
Next Tuesday?
Yep,
yeah.
May 3rd.
You got anything scheduled this weekend?
All weekend.
Yes, it is, Kelly.
Exactly. The primary is important in Morgan County.
100%.
And because at the end of the day, there are concerns, even though we don't have huge topics, there's a lot of concerns going on in the county. And the only way to really affect or get somebody in that can affect those concerns is to get out and vote.
Right.
You know, because it does frustrate me when people want to complain and say, well, who'd you vote for? Well, I don't vote.
Right.
You know, and so.
And guess what? Shut up.
So I got to tell you.
You don't vote, you're not going to sit on your porch and.
Well, and you have to vote. And there's just a small little story of a guy who sent me a text. He's a good friend of mine. And it's an individual who was never really involved in politics and has never voted in his life. And he's about my age. But he sent me a note that said, I got you a gift. It was a text. And of course, I sent back with a question mark. And I think it's going to be a joke or something. But he says, I registered to vote. And this actually, I didn't know he'd never voted before. So I registered to vote and I'm voting for you. And then he sent a picture of his registration. So I thought that was that was really awesome.
Yeah.
So I think our two youngest actually were both 18, and we took them early, and they voted for the first time because we want them to start being involved.
Sure.
You know, at the end of the day, even if you just vote, you're being involved in the process, and at least you can. It's the only way you decide who is going to be in there to, hey, I like what they say about this or that, and then if they didn't tell you the truth, then you vote them out. So.
Well, I mean, Peggy's had it cornered down for a long time. This part of the country, this part of the state. And we need Peggy, and we need Jim Lucas, and we need these guys like you. My biggest fear is when, you know, the sprawl comes out of Indianapolis in each direction, and Mooresville, northern part of Mooresville, Canby area has been, to me, let's get a little too progressive up there. Well, now, boom, they change the district, and now we're going to have two solid conservatives, boom, boom, right in a row there as a buffer, and we need that. And it's, you know, and Hendricks County and Johnson County, Morgan County, fairly all conservative. So
definitely, and that's been an issue with bleed over from Marion County.
Yeah,
I mean, there's obviously, you look at that and you used to say, well, at least we're not Chicago.
Yeah,
but look at the murder rate.
Yeah,
and it's sad and it's unfortunate, and you are having some bleed over of some issues from Marion into Johnson, Morgan, and Hendricks, and that is a concern of a lot of the citizens, and that's why the sheriff's race in particular. Hendricks is so important, and you know, I could give my opinions all day about Marion County, and hopefully maybe they'll have a different mayor in a few years. But I can hopefully say that because I don't think Mr. Hogsett's probably voting for me or supporting me.
Well, probably not.
But
are you anywhere this weekend? You guys set up any?
So I'm everywhere this weekend. I plan on knocking on doors every day in all three counties. I am going to go to the different polling stations, so I'm really going to be visiting all the areas. But and I've encouraged people to do this. Everybody that has gone to my website, HoosiersForHaggard.com, and you like it, there's info at Hoosiers for Haggard, which is the email. I answer all those emails personally.
Fantastic.
When people Facebook message me, and I go ahead, I usually give out my number. I'm not going to give it out on here, but I'll give it out to people personally, because if they're nutty, I can just block them. I'm not really worried about it. But I've talked to them.
guy too, so don't get stupid with it. So.
Yeah. But I've visited people at their houses. Hey, I'd like a sign. So I just went and delivered it myself. I call people on the phone. I've given them my number. And that was the biggest shock, I think, to a lot of people that have done that. But I mean, that's how else are you going to get to know what you should know?
Right.
And I don't plan on, if I get elected, I'm going to stop. I'm going to continue to go to the breakfast, to the lunches, to talk to people on the phone. And sometimes I do get people that stop me and want to talk to me for 3 hours and tell me how to do things. And,
right.
you know, And that's fine. You know, it's the only way I'm going to find out what's really bothering people. And everybody that I really appreciate, even if it's legitimate or not legitimate, it's legitimate to them. And it's a concern. And sometimes I've talked to folks that
100%, Peggy.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Door knocking is great, but it's great because sometimes there is a concern. And I've talked to a few where you explain to some folks and maybe there was a miscommunication. I was asked one time at one of these Meet the Candidate nights in an interview, well, what are you going to do? And I'll answer this. What are you going to do if a vote comes up in the House and you think one way and your constituents think the other? I said, well, first of all, I know my constituents. I am from that area. I'm one of those people. And if we're totally off, then something's wrong.
Right.
I said, so what I would do is not say, well, I'm smarter, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back to the constituents and say, hey, there's a disconnect here. Maybe I'm misinformed. Maybe you're misinformed. And actually talk to folks, because I think too often when you look at people that complain about this bill or that bill, they see an amendment or somebody takes a snippet of a bill and puts this out. He voted this way. And I don't think communication flows properly. And that's one thing I would like to say. I'll try my best to do. And if I'm not, I want people to call me out on it.
Right.
I mean, seriously, hey, knucklehead, why didn't you talk to us about this or that? And
open and transparent. That's and
Yeah.
Peggy's very similar to that.
well, exactly.
And that's why I think you guys are gonna. It's gonna be great for this area. That hopefully you guys both move past Tuesday and on into November. But
yeah.
I don't know about what's gonna go in November, but her race will be decided Tuesday, and then that's the end of it.
And so will mine. I mean, mine's a primary election. It's
Yeah.
it's a heavy
Republican area.
Republican area. I can't remember the exact numbers, but somewhere between, I'm sure between 80 and 90%. And so, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm still going to continue to campaign, continue to go door to door,
sure.
continue to have, and at this point, I'll start to have meet and greets, because at this point, maybe people, okay, well, I guess he's in. I'll go talk to him now. But,
Right.
But that actually, from the beginning to now, has increased in people showing up and having concerns. And I think we did one just last week at Brandon Short in Mooresville. There's your plug. It's Awesome Coffee House up there.
You have a good turnout?
Yeah. And there's a lot of great folks. I think I was made to stop by my wife to get her a cinnamon roll coffee this morning. So but I actually ran into some people that I met there and actually had some more conversations. And that's one of the things I like about Mooresville and Martinsville and places like that. I came back to a place that people are still nice to each other. You could even talk to a stranger in the next booth at whatever cafe you're at and have a nice conversation, or people will pull over to help a car get pushed off the road if you need to. It really is. Midwest and the area we live in is really a place that I think the rest of the country doesn't get. I mean, they make fun of us.
We're a flyover state.
That's right. We were called deplorables or whatever, but you know
yeah.
what? I'll take my deplorables that will stop and help you on the side of the road any
100%.
day over somebody. You know, so
I think our fundraisers have proven that this part of the world on our little block of earth here, county-wise, I know the other counties do stuff similar, but you'd be hard pressed to find a better group of people when the chips are down. These people around here come to help.
Mm-hmm.
No questions asked. I don't care what you do with it here. Take this or whatever it may be, and go help our brother, sister, or whomever. And then this county's proven it time and time again. And people like you and Peggy, it's a blessing. And hopefully, come Tuesday, you're on your way. And it's just been an honor to talk to you. I think that your record, as I said earlier, you've given yourself to this country as service all along, and now it's awesome that you're even wanting to do this now. And it's a perfect storm. Your kids are older, growing up, and this is a chance to continue serving your country, serving your state, serving your area that you grew up in once again. And happy to have you on, man. And you have a Facebook page, right?
Yep.
And if they want to sign or something, they can message you on there or track you
message
down.
me on there. I have my personal page. Yeah. I have the Hoosiers for Haggard page, and I have all this other, InstaFace or whatever, all this other social media stuff is. My kids help me with. So find me on that, what they call the interwebs.
Yeah, there you go. That was
the interwebs.
Who was doing that? Was that? Wait a minute. Look for so long. There you go. This jarhead. There you go. Peggy's calling you out already.
That's a badge of honor. I'll take that.
Go.
You know, we take those names people call us and wear it proudly. So
yeah. Hey, I'll tell a real quick story and we'll get out of here. And I told it the other day. I think we get deployed down to Panama and they throw us out in the jungle. Well, they make us wait on the tarmac in the sun in full winter outfit because we're going to show the Panamanians that we can handle winter. I'm like, they don't care. They know why we're here, regardless of how we're dressed. So we stay out there for 4 hours. They send us out in the jungle. We have to build our own camp, not far from some Marine bases out in the jungle. But we do this, that, and the other. And then finally, after about 35 days, they're like, hey, we're going to bust you back to the city, and you get to go to an Air Force base and have a beer. Well, I'm like, oh, super. They're going to give us some 3.2. We're going to be drunk anyway because it's, we haven't had anything other than water for 35 days out in this heat. And so it's under a basement underneath the base, and it's a fairly good room, but it's wall to wall beret wearers and all Army, and there's no Marines anywhere. It's all Special Force Army. It's just packed. You can't even move. And this is the truth. And on one of these days, somebody from there who's seen this is going to confess to this. In walks 5 Marines, and the biggest one steps on the table, breaks a glass, breaks a bottle in the room, needle on the record. The room goes dead. And he goes, we're here to drink beer or fight. It's up to you guys. And you're talking, there's probably 300 soldiers in there. Everybody's just like, anyway, hey, what's going on over here? It stopped. He got off the table and went about their business. And that was our really only run-in with Marines the whole time. I was like, that's a different cut of man right there, those guys there.
It might have been my brother-in-law. I don't know. So.
We're here to fight or drink beer. It's up to you guys. I'm like, he's outnumbered 300 to 5, and he's pushing the envelope here, so. But all in good fun. You know that. We'd all would have went to jail together anyway. So.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, sir, it's been an honor.
Well, thank you. And really thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Wish you the best of luck Tuesday. And hopefully we've changed a few minds and hopefully introduce you to the community. I was glad you went into your stores because we like hearing that stuff. And they want to know the man they're getting to putting on the seat. And I think that's important to know that you have walked the walk, you've talked the talk, and you're still serving the community. So
I appreciate it. And by the way, kudos to you guys because you probably don't do it enough, but I know you guys do a lot of awesome stuff for the community, your people, and you step up. And so thank you to you for that. I mean, that really is awesome. And to have you be on with guys like you that do care about your community and serve in that capacity. Sir. I just wanted to say that.
Once this is all done, we'll meet you at Gillespie's and we'll talk aircraft over there.
There we go.
Mr. Gillespie and have a few cigarettes.
My wife will probably say, I'll be at home. Your stories are too long. Shania Twain, that doesn't impress me much anymore. Whatever that song is.
Knock on doors. Yeah, Dean said get out there and knock on doors.
That's right.
There you go. Well, if anybody wants to sign for Mr. Haggard, get a hold of myself or go to his page. We can track it down for you and get you signed. Mooresville, get out and vote for this individual. I don't know if we have any from Plainfield on, but anybody in that District 57, this is the man we need for that spot. And we're just happy to have him in here. Track him down, get his sign, shake his hand, buy him some coffee, buy his wife some coffee on the weekend or something. So they're going to be out and about this weekend. Dean, Peggy, thank you guys so much. Mike, thank you. Any closing words, sir?
No, just get out and vote. And thanks for, I guess, being who you are, because that's why I came back here, because of the people I live with.
Awesome.
So.
Corey? Yeah, man, a few words we love about him. You guys, thank you so much. I'm back in here on Friday, and it's another veteran-related, and I'm Lindsay. I'm horrible.
Don't guess.
Oh, I know it. I'm so bad, but I'll make a post, so we'll get through that. But looking forward to being here Friday. Yeah, discuss that, and then I think Sunday. It's a very important show along the lines of him. Mike Ellis Corner is going to come in, and what he's going to discuss, it's not an easy topic, but it's dealing with death and to prepare yourself and how you could save a friend and things like that, because the situation in this county is brutal with death from fentanyl and all sorts of other stuff. But it's a show you don't want to miss. I'm telling you. Love you guys, and we will see you soon.